As the great wheel of the year slowly turns, bringing us away from the warmth of the summer sun, there is a quiet magic that begins to settle over the vast, northern expanses of the world, specifically, here, in the boundless, quiet heart of Canada during the deep winter. It is not a harshness that arrives, but rather a profound, enveloping stillness, a deep, restful exhale of the earth itself, as millions upon millions of ancient trees bow their heavy branches under the soft, gathering weight of the snow. The world here does not fight the cold, it embraces it, wrapping itself in a seamless blanket of pure, glittering white, inviting you to do the same, to simply let go of the rushing hours, and to breathe in the slow, crystalline rhythm of the frozen landscape. Imagine, if you will, the gentle, rhythmic sound of a train, gliding smoothly through the endless boreal forests, the rhythmic clatter softened, muffled by the sheer depth of the snowdrifts, as you journey deeper into a land where time seems to lose its sharp edges. The windows of your carriage frame a world of silver and charcoal, where the slender trunks of white birch stand like quiet sentinels among the deep emerald green of the towering pines, all dusted with a fine, powdery frost that catches the low, golden light of the winter sun. There is a reason to seek out this place when the temperatures fall, a reason that goes beyond mere sightseeing. It is the search for a profound, unbroken peace, a quietude so absolute that you can almost hear the snowflakes landing, one by one, upon the frozen earth. When you finally step out into this vast, open space, the air itself feels entirely different. It is incredibly crisp, incredibly pure, carrying a clean, sharp scent of pine needles and ancient, frozen lakes. Every breath you take in this northern wilderness feels like a gentle awakening, clearing away the noise and the dust of the everyday world, leaving only a cool, refreshing clarity in its wake. The sky above you is not simply blue, it is a deep, endless indigo, stretching out over a landscape that feels infinite, a gentle reminder of our own small, beautiful place within the grand, quiet scale of nature. This is the winter deep within the Canadian wilderness, a place where the air is not just something you breathe, but an experience of profound, icy purity, settling deep into your lungs, slowing your heart rate to match the quiet pulse of the sleeping forest. As the short winter afternoon slowly fades, the landscape begins a long, beautiful transition into twilight, casting shadows that stretch out long and soft across the undulating hills of snow. The light shifts from gold to a pale, luminous lavender, and then to a deep, velvety violet, painting the snow-capped mountains in the distance with hues so delicate, they seem almost like a watercolor dream, gently blurring the line between the earth and the evening sky. There is no rush to this sunset. It lingers in the atmosphere, a slow, beautiful fading of the light that invites you to simply stand still, to watch, and to let the gentle melancholy of the winter evening wash over you, bringing with it a profound sense of calm. And as the first, silver stars begin to pierce the darkening sky, twinkling with a cold, clear brilliance, you find your way toward a quiet refuge, a warm, wooden sanctuary tucked away at the edge of a frozen lake. The amber light spilling from the frosted windows offers a soft, welcoming glow against the deepening blue of the winter night, a promise of warmth and comfort and gentle rest. Here, surrounded by miles of untouched snow and the silent, ancient trees, the winter is not a season to be endured, but a beautiful, quiet retreat, a necessary stillness that allows the mind to wander, and the spirit to find its own, peaceful center. To truly understand the allure of this frozen expanse, one must surrender to the slow, measured pace of the winter wilderness, where the simplest actions become mindful rituals. The soft, rhythmic crunch of your footsteps, breaking the pristine, untouched surface of the morning snow, becomes a steady, meditative beat, echoing gently through the quiet, frost-laden air. Each tree you pass is a masterpiece of winter artistry, its branches meticulously sculpted by the wind and the cold, draped in delicate, crystalline lace that shimmers softly in the muted light. It is a world that demands nothing from you, a vast, open space where the mind can finally untangle itself, letting the worries of the world simply fall away, like dry leaves carried off by a gentle winter breeze. Beyond the immediate, quiet beauty of the forest, there lies the immense, staggering scale of the frozen lakes, vast sheets of ice that stretch out toward the horizon like sleeping oceans. When the temperatures drop deep into the twilight hours, these ancient, frozen bodies of water begin to sing, a deep, resonant echoing, a slow, haunting melody of the ice expanding and contracting, vibrating through the stillness of the night. It is a sound that connects you instantly to the ancient, powerful rhythms of the earth, a deep, rumbling lullaby that speaks of the profound, unseen forces moving slowly beneath the surface of the world, reminding you of the quiet, enduring strength of nature in her most restful state. Part 2. The Sensory Symphony of the North. As you move deeper into this crystalline world, the first thing you truly notice is not what you see, but the profound, layered tapestry of sounds and scents that begin to define the winter air. The silence here is not empty, it is a living thing, a soft, velvety weight that settles over your senses, allowing the smallest, most delicate sounds to rise to the surface of your awareness. If you close your eyes and simply listen, you can hear the faint, melodic sigh of the wind as it weaves through the high, frozen canopies of the white cedar trees, a sound like a distant, ethereal ocean, rising and falling in a slow, rhythmic pulse that seems to mirror your own quiet breathing. Every movement in this landscape creates a tiny, delicate masterpiece of sound. There is the occasional, soft, muffled thud, as a heavy pillow of snow finally slips from a bough of a balsam fir, landing with a gentle puff in the deep drifts below, sending a shimmering cloud of ice dust into the air. And then, there is the scent, an aroma so clean and sharp it feels almost structural, the fragrance of crushed evergreen needles, mixed with the cold, resinous sweetness of sap that has frozen deep within the bark. It is a smell that speaks of ancient resilience, of life held in a beautiful, icy stasis, waiting patiently for the distant return of the sun. As you walk, the rhythm of your own journey becomes a meditative song, the dry, rhythmic crunch of frozen crystals under your boots, a sound so crisp and clear it seems to echo through the stillness. It is a satisfying, tactile sound, grounding you in the present moment, reminding you with every step that you are here, in the heart of the wild, moving through a world that has remained unchanged for 1,000 years. The air itself carries a peculiar, metallic sharpness, a scent that is difficult to describe, but instantly recognizable as the smell of deep, true cold. It is the fragrance of purity, of oxygen chilled to its very essence, cleansing the mind and stilled the restless thoughts of the day. From somewhere far across the valley, perhaps from a hidden cabin tucked away in a fold of the hills, a thin, silver ribbon of wood smoke drifts through the air. It brings with it a warm, comforting aroma, the smell of burning maple and birch, a scent that carries stories of flickering hearths and shared warmth, and the quiet sanctuary of the home. This scent, so small and fragile against the vastness of the forest, serves as a gentle reminder of human presence, a soft, glowing ember of life in the midst of the great, white silence, adding a layer of cozy, nostalgic depth to the frozen atmosphere. If you wander near the edge of a mountain stream, where the water still flows beneath a fragile architecture of ice, you will hear a different kind of music. It is a low, liquid gurgling, a secretive, subterranean melody that plays beneath the translucent shells of frozen foam, sounding like 1,000 tiny bells ringing in the darkness. The smell here is different too. It is the scent of wet stone and moss, a damp, earthy fragrance that persists even in the depths of winter, reminding you that beneath the frozen surface, the heart of the earth is still beating, the water is still moving, and life is simply resting in its own, quiet time. And then, as the evening settles even deeper into the valley, there is the sound of the ice on the Great Lakes, a sound that defines the Canadian winter more than any other. It is not a crack, but a resonant, booming groan, a deep, low-frequency vibration that travels through the ground and settles in your chest. It is the sound of the earth shifting its weight, a grand, tectonic lullaby that speaks of the immense power of the cold and the quiet, inevitable movement of the seasons. It is a sound that makes the world feel incredibly old and incredibly peaceful, as if the planet itself is settling down for a long, undisturbed sleep. In these moments, as the scents of pine and wood smoke and frozen water mingle in the cool night air, and the sounds of the wind and the ice create a slow, symphonic backdrop, you realize that the Canadian winter is not just a place you visit, but a sensory experience that sinks deep into your soul. It is a world of soft edges and muted tones, where the noise of the modern world is replaced by the ancient, rhythmic breath of the wilderness, inviting you to slow down, to listen, and to find your own, quiet place within the great winter symphony. To truly understand the beating heart of this northern landscape, one must look not only at the vast, snow-covered forests, but also gaze quietly into the warm, intimate spaces where human life gently and persistently endures. When the unbroken winter settles fully over the Canadian wilderness, it brings with it a beautiful, profound shift in the very way people move through the hours of their days, a deliberate slowing down that perfectly mirrors the quiet, heavy sleep of the earth itself. The isolated communities, scattered like fallen stars across the frozen map, become glowing islands of resilient light and radiant warmth, standing in stark, dramatic contrast to the overwhelming ocean of dark blue twilight. To live here, in the shadow of the great ice, is to enter into a quiet, respectful agreement with the cold, to acknowledge its ancient power, and to find lasting comfort in the deliberate, unhurried pace that it silently demands. There is a deep, almost sacred beauty in the spaces we build to keep the long winter at bay, quiet spaces defined entirely by the rich, tactile presence of heavy natural wood and ancient, dark stone. Imagine stepping through a thick, iron-bound oak door, leaving the biting, crystalline air far behind you, and being instantly enveloped in a wave of comforting, wood-scented heat. The true heart of these northern homes is always the hearth, a wide, stone fireplace where aged logs of split maple and silver birch whisper continuously in the dancing flames, casting a soft, liquid amber light across the room. It is a forgiving light that beautifully softens the sharp edges of everything it touches, making long shadows dance slowly on the timber walls, and creating an atmosphere of absolute sanctuary. Here, deep indoors, the winter is no longer an enemy, but rather the very reason this profound coziness exists. The rituals of daily life in the depths of winter are incredibly slow, highly methodical, and deeply, quietly mindful, beginning simply with the act of preparing to step outside. There is a quiet satisfaction in the adding of layers, the soft, reassuring weight of thick, hand-knitted wool, the familiar, flexible leather of sturdy, fur-lined boots, the gentle scratch of a long woolen scarf pulled high against the chin. It is a daily, deliberate, almost ceremonial wrapping of the self against the raw elements, a mindful process that gently grounds you in the physical reality of the season. When you finally step out into the frosty air, you feel profoundly protected, insulated, moving like a slow, purposeful traveler through a silent world completely hushed by the heavy snow. The clothing here is not merely functional, it is a physical embrace, a warm blanket carried into the vast stillness. This gentle, unhurried pace naturally extends into the warm, glowing kitchens of the far north, where the grounding food of the winter season is prepared with a slow, almost religious devotion. As the snow falls silently outside the frosted window panes, the air inside becomes thick with the rich, savory aromas of long-simmering broths, sweet, earthy root vegetables roasted carefully in heavy, black iron pans, and the yeasty, comforting scent of fresh bread rising in the radiant warmth of the stone oven. These are not meals that can ever be rushed, they are complex, layered dishes that take many hours to gently coax into perfection, perfectly mirroring the long, shadowy hours of the winter afternoon. Sharing a slow meal in this quiet environment is a deeply grounding experience, a communal celebration of survival and shared warmth against the vast backdrop of the frozen world. Long before these wooden cabins and stone hearths were ever built, the indigenous peoples of this vast land deeply understood the quiet, ancient rhythm of the heavy winter, moving in perfect harmony with the season rather than resisting its inevitable arrival. For thousands of years, the deep freeze was not seen as a period of hardship, but rather as a highly sacred time of necessary rest, a vital pause in the great cycle of life, a time when the earth simply sleeps, and the people gather intimately close to share their long histories. It is traditionally the time for deep storytelling, for passing down the ancient, hard-won wisdom and the quiet legends of the frozen land, spoken softly in the fading glow of red embers as the harsh wind whispers outside. To spend time in the Canadian winter is to brush closely against this enduring, beautiful wisdom, feeling the spiritual connection between the people and the frost. Even in the small, modern, snow-laden towns, there remains a soft, muted quality to the way the community interacts during these long, quiet months. The narrow streets are thickly blanketed in heavy, white snow that completely muffles the sound of slowly passing vehicles, creating an overarching atmosphere of profound, village-like quiet. When bundled neighbors quietly pass each other on the narrowly cleared, icy pathways, their gentle greetings are warm but softly spoken, their breaths instantly blooming into small, fragile clouds in the still air. The sheer isolation of the vast geography actually serves to bring people closer together in spirit, fostering a quiet, unspoken bond of shared daily experience, a collective, gentle endurance of the long season. There is absolutely no frantic rushing here, only the steady, calm heartbeat of a town wrapped safely in insulating snow. Ultimately, as the long nights stretch on, the true beauty of fully experiencing the deep Canadian winter lies in the quiet psychological shift it gently forces upon your restless mind. As the short days grow even shorter, you are slowly untethered from the demanding pace of the outside world. The vast, frozen landscape gives you permission to simply stop, to finally rest, to be present in the radiant warmth of the immediate moment, while the world outside slumbers in its crystalline shell. It is a restorative journey inward, teaching you the forgotten art of stillness. To truly comprehend the profound, enveloping depth of the Canadian winter, one must first attempt to gently grasp the sheer, staggering scale of the ancient land it covers. The Great Boreal Forest, a vast, sweeping emerald ribbon of enduring life, stretches endlessly across the northern edge of the world, covering millions upon millions of acres in a continuous, unbroken, quiet canopy of deep green spruce and towering, slender pine. When the heavy snow falls in this remote place, it does not simply cover a passing landscape, it blankets an entire, continental ecosystem, a region so impossibly large and wild that it literally creates its own weather, its own deep, atmospheric rhythms. This is not a winter that merely happens to the earth, it is a winter born directly from the earth itself, exhaled slowly by the ancient, sleeping trees, and carried patiently on the back of the frigid, Arctic winds. It is a geographical scale that entirely humbles the human mind, inviting a deep, quiet, lasting reverence for the vastness of the natural world, and our own, small, beautiful place within it. Yet, beneath this overwhelming, monumental scale, hidden quietly beneath the pristine surface of the deepest, wind-sculpted snowdrifts, there exists a secret, delicate world that thrives entirely unseen by human eyes. It is a hidden, subterranean layer known to naturalists as the subnivean zone, a fragile, intricate network of tiny, winding tunnels and softly hollow chambers, carved out with immense patience between the frozen, resting earth and the heavy blanket of snow above. Because fallen snow is composed largely of trapped, insulating air, it acts as a phenomenal, natural thermal blanket, trapping the faint, residual, geothermal heat of the planet, so that while the fierce winds above may howl at 30 degrees below freezing, the temperature within these hidden corridors remains gently, consistently stable. Here, a quiet, unseen society of small, resilient creatures continues to move and forage in the gentle dark, completely shielded from the harshness of the upper world, a beautiful, hidden testament to the quiet, enduring tenacity of life in the cold. As you gaze upward into the crisp, high atmosphere of these frigid, northern days, you might witness stunning atmospheric phenomena that seem to belong more to the realm of ancient magic than to modern meteorology. When the air becomes impossibly cold and exceptionally, breathlessly still, tiny, hexagonal ice crystals begin to gently form and suspend themselves in the lower atmosphere, hanging silently in the air like millions of invisible, microscopic mirrors. When the low, golden, winter sunlight catches these suspended crystals at just the perfect angle, the light bends and beautifully refracts, creating breathtaking, luminous optical illusions across the pale sky. You may look up to see the faint, glowing halos known as sundogs, standing like loyal, luminous, bright guardians on either side of the fading winter sun, or witness ethereal, vertical pillars of light, rising straight up from the dark horizon into the night sky, painting the heavens with soft, glowing bands of silver and gold. To walk quietly upon this snow-laden land is to walk upon the deep, silent, frozen memory of the ancient ice ages. Deep, deep beneath your heavily booted feet, far beneath the tangled roots of the towering pines and the deep, rocky beds of the frozen, sleeping lakes, there are vast, hidden layers of earth that have remained completely, solidly frozen for thousands upon thousands of years. This deep permafrost, a subterranean, hidden vault of ancient, resting ice, holds the profound, geological history of the continent perfectly preserved within its freezing grasp. It is a stark, silent, beautiful reminder that the dramatic landscape we see today, the deep, echoing valleys, the countless, scattered lakes, the smooth, worn faces of the ancient granite mountains, were all violently, beautifully carved out by the slow, grinding, relentless retreat of massive, prehistoric glacier. The winter we experience now is merely a gentle, passing echo, a soft, annual reminder of the immense, glacial forces that once shaped the very bones of the world. Moving slowly and deliberately through this ancient, frozen, white architecture, are creatures that seem to have stepped directly and quietly out of the deep, forgotten past. If you are incredibly fortunate, and exceptionally, perfectly quiet, you might catch a rare glimpse of the magnificent, dark silhouettes of the northern wood bison, wandering like slow, breathing, heavy mountains across the snow-covered, open plains. These massive, prehistoric-looking animals, with their thick, dark, heavy, insulating coats and broad, sweeping, powerful shoulders, are perfectly, beautifully adapted to survive the extreme, punishing cold of the north. They do not hurry through the drifts, they do not ever panic, they simply use their massive, heavy heads to gently, methodically sweep away the deep, powdery snow, uncovering the dormant, frozen, nourishing grasses hidden carefully below. Watching them move slowly through the fading, violet twilight is like watching the slow ticking of a geological clock, a vision of raw, enduring, quiet survival. There is also a strange, beautiful, unseen physics to the way sound travels through this extreme, deep, northern cold. Because the air closest to the frozen, snow-covered earth is significantly colder and denser than the warmer air resting above it, it creates a subtle, invisible, acoustic ceiling in the atmosphere, a natural phenomenon that gently causes sound waves to bend downwards, sweeping back toward the ground. This means that in the very heart of the deep Canadian winter, the world does not just feel profoundly quieter, but when a sound does finally break the thick silence, it travels with an uncanny, crystalline, perfect clarity over incredibly vast distances. The haunting, lonely, beautiful call of a distant timber wolf, the sharp, sudden crack of a freezing, heavy tree branch, or the low, mournful, steady whistle of a train miles and miles away, can be heard as clearly as if they were right beside you in the dark. Ultimately, the deep winter of the remote north fundamentally alters our very perception of time itself. Because the northern half of the earth is tilted so far away from the warmth of the sun, the days here are reduced to brief, beautiful, fleeting whispers of pale light, leaving the landscape bathed in a long, continuous, comforting, velvety darkness. This extended night is not something to be feared or avoided. It is a profound, cosmic event, a long, slow, necessary exhale of the resting planet, gently forcing you to abandon the frantic, rushing, exhausting schedules of the modern world. You slowly learn to measure the passing of time not by the anxious ticking of a mechanical clock, but by the slow, majestic, silent shifting of the bright constellations across the clear, black sky, and by the slow, silent, heavy accumulation of the snowpack against the window. It is a deeply humbling, restorative, quiet experience, teaching you the beautiful art of patience. As the deep, velvety expanse of the long northern night fully embraces the frozen landscape, an entirely different kind of magic begins to slowly, quietly unfold, a breathtaking magic that can only be truly witnessed when the world is completely stripped of its familiar daylight hours. The darkness here in the deep Canadian wilderness is never truly a void. It is not an empty blackness, but rather a profound, infinite, living canvas of deep, shimmering indigo, a vast, quiet ocean of cosmic space that seems to stretch out endlessly above the silent, waiting trees. To stand beneath this sky is to feel an immediate, overwhelming sense of scale, a gentle, humbling realization of the sheer, unimaginable vastness of the universe, as the heavy, snow-laden earth below you seems to simply fall away into the quiet shadows. The air itself is so incredibly cold, so perfectly, remarkably clear and devoid of any lingering moisture or dust, that the atmosphere becomes like a massive, flawless lens, allowing you to peer directly into the very heart of the ancient galaxy. When you slowly lift your gaze toward the heavens, you are met with a staggering, almost incomprehensible multitude of stars, glittering with a cold, fierce, diamond-like brilliance that simply cannot be found anywhere else on Earth. Without the harsh, artificial glare of city lights to wash out their delicate glow, the stars do not just gently twinkle, they seem to actively, vibrantly pulse against the dark, casting their own faint, silver illumination down upon the resting snow. You can easily trace the dense, glowing, cloudy pathway of the Milky Way as it arcs majestically across the entire dome of the sky, a slow, sweeping river of ancient starlight that has guided countless generations of travelers through the long, freezing nights. It is a sight that commands absolute, breathless reverence, drawing your mind far away from the small, fleeting concerns of the daily world, and inviting you to simply lose yourself in the slow, eternal, majestic rotation of the heavens. In this deep, nocturnal stillness, the silence of the Canadian winter reaches its absolute, most profound peak, wrapping around you like a heavy, comforting, protective blanket. Because the thick, powdery snow is a perfect, natural acoustic insulator, it absorbs every stray echo, every rustle of the wind, leaving behind a quietude so pure, so absolute, that you can almost hear the soft, steady rhythm of your own heartbeat in your ears. This is not an oppressive silence, but a deeply healing, restorative quiet, a vast, empty sonic space where the restless, busy mind can finally lay down its heavy burdens and simply rest. As you stand there, bundled warmly against the biting frost, the silence begins to seep into your very bones, slowing your breathing, calming your spirit, and perfectly aligning your own internal rhythm with the deep, slow, resting pulse of the frozen earth beneath your feet. And then, if the solar winds are favorable, and the night is perfectly, exquisitely still, the dark horizon begins to softly, gently bloom with a faint, ghostly luminescence. It starts almost imperceptibly, a pale, glowing, ethereal mist that seems to hover just above the jagged, black silhouettes of the distant spruce trees, glowing with a faint, otherworldly, emerald light. This is the quiet, breathtaking arrival of the Aurora Borealis, the legendary northern lights, a slow, magnificent celestial phenomenon that has inspired countless myths and deep, spiritual awe for thousands of years. There is no sound to announce their arrival, no sudden flash. They simply bleed slowly into the darkness, a gentle, glowing exhalation of the Earth's magnetic field, responding silently to the unseen, ancient forces of the distant sun. As the deep night slowly progresses, this pale, glowing mist begins to gather strength and structure, slowly twisting and unfurling across the stars like massive, silken ribbons of pure, liquid light. The colors are unimaginably rich and deeply saturated, shifting fluidly from vibrant, glowing greens to soft, delicate hues of rose and pale, ethereal violet, painting the entire sky with a slow, sweeping, hypnotic brush. The lights do not merely hang in the air, they dance, they sway, they ripple gently like a cosmic curtain caught in an invisible, high-altitude breeze, moving with a slow, deliberate, liquid grace that completely mesmerizes the mind. Watching this slow, silent symphony of color unfold above you is a deeply meditative, almost transcendent experience, a gentle, visual lullaby that soothes the soul and perfectly captures the quiet, mysterious, overwhelming beauty of the polar winter. The magic of the aurora does not end in the sky. It reaches down to touch the very surface of the frozen world, creating a breathtaking, mirror-like reflection across the vast, sleeping landscape. The thick, pristine blanket of snow, and the smooth, dark, glassy surfaces of the frozen lakes gently catch the shifting, emerald light, bathing the entire forest in a soft, surreal, glowing luminescence. The white birch trees seem to faintly radiate this borrowed light, their slender shadows moving slowly across the snowdrifts as the auroral ribbons twist and sway above. It is a moment of perfect, harmonious unity between the earth and the sky, a time when the boundary between the frozen ground and the vast cosmos seems to completely dissolve, leaving you standing in a world made entirely of gentle light, deep shadows, and absolute, unbroken peace. To witness this slow, beautiful, celestial dance in the heart of the deep Canadian winter is to experience a profound, lasting shift in your own internal perspective. It is a gentle, powerful reminder that there are forces in this world vastly larger, older, and more beautiful than ourselves, moving in their own, slow, perfect time. As you watch the final, delicate ribbons of green light slowly fade back into the starry indigo void, you are left with a deep, lingering sense of calm, a quiet, inner stillness that perfectly mirrors the resting, frozen world around you. This is the true, hidden gift of the northern night, a vast, beautiful, silent space where the soul can quietly expand, where the rushing of time finally stops, and where you can simply, peacefully exist within the great, sleeping embrace of the winter earth. As the spectacular, ethereal dance of the northern lights begins to slowly, gently fade into the deep, quiet memory of the night, you find your own footsteps turning back toward the warm, welcoming sanctuary, the quiet, glowing cabin waiting patiently at the edge of the frozen lake. The walk back through the darkened forest is no longer a journey of discovery, but a slow, peaceful return to absolute, unbroken comfort. The heavy, powdery snow yields softly, quietly beneath your boots, a steady, rhythmic, familiar sound that feels like a gentle, grounding heartbeat in the vast, open silence. The air is still impossibly crisp and clear, but the biting edge of the cold seems to have softened, replaced by a profound, heavy stillness that wraps around your weary limbs, a gentle, invisible hand guiding you slowly out of the wild, and back toward the promise of deep, restorative rest. When you finally reach the heavy, wooden door, and push it slowly open, you are instantly, beautifully enveloped in a wave of residual, comforting heat, the deep, baked-in warmth of the ancient stone hearth. You step inside, and slowly, methodically begin to shed the heavy, protective layers of the day, the thick wool, the frosted leather, leaving them by the door like heavy thoughts you no longer need to carry. With each layer that falls away, you feel yourself becoming lighter, softer, more deeply attuned to the intimate, quiet space of the cabin. The profound, echoing silence of the vast, external wilderness is gently replaced by the intimate, soothing acoustics of the small, wooden room, a safe, enclosed sanctuary where the sheer magnitude of the winter night can no longer reach you, leaving only a deep, abiding sense of perfect, uninterrupted safety. In the low, quiet center of the room, the great fire has slowly burned down to a beautiful, mesmerizing bed of deep, glowing embers. They pulse with a soft, rhythmic, cherry-red light, breathing in the dimness like a living, resting creature, casting a faint, warm, amber glow across the heavy floorboards. The crackle and hiss of the burning logs have gently faded away, replaced now by the soft, microscopic ticking of the cooling stones, and the occasional, whisper-soft collapse of white ash settling onto the hearth. You stand before it for a long, quiet moment, letting the gentle, radiant heat seep deeply into your chilled skin, melting away the very last, lingering traces of the winter frost, and filling you with a profound, heavy, golden warmth that sinks deep into your bones, preparing your entire body for the deep, healing surrender of sleep. Slowly, with a beautiful, heavy lethargy settling over your limbs, you move toward the waiting comfort of the bed, a massive, wooden frame piled high with thick, heavy, down-filled quilts and soft, woven woolen blankets. As you finally lie down and pull the immense, comforting weight of the covers up around your shoulders, you let out a long, slow, involuntary sigh, a deep exhale that seems to release the entire, long, beautiful day into the shadows. The sheer physical weight of the blankets acts as a deep, grounding embrace, a soft, heavy pressure that instantly tells your nervous system it is completely safe, that the journey is over, and that there is absolutely nothing left to do but yield to the quietness. The pillows are soft and deeply yielding, cradling your head as perfectly as the deep snow cradles the ancient, sleeping earth outside your frosted window. Outside the thick, insulated walls of the cabin, the Canadian wilderness continues its slow, majestic, eternal rotation, but it feels incredibly far away now, a distant, muted dream. You can hear the faintest, softest whisper of the night wind brushing against the heavy, snow-laden eaves, a gentle, sweeping sound that acts as a natural, hypnotic lullaby, guiding your busy mind into a state of beautiful, empty tranquility. From far below the cabin, you might hear the deep, resonant, muffled groan of the ice on the frozen lake, shifting and settling in its long winter sleep, a low, comforting vibration that travels up through the floorboards, a grand, tectonic heartbeat that reminds you that even the massive, ancient earth is resting tonight, finding its own, profound peace in the cold. In this perfect, unbroken sanctuary, your own breathing begins to naturally, effortlessly slow down, mirroring the vast, unhurried, resting rhythm of the world outside. Every slow, deep inhale draws in the clean, faint scent of the wood smoke and the dry, aged timber, and every long, soft exhale releases the last, tiny fragments of tension from your muscles, letting them sink heavier and deeper into the soft mattress. There is no past to regret here, there is no future to anxiously plan, there is only this one, single, perfect moment, this profound, golden warmth, this absolute, enveloping safety. Your thoughts begin to gently drift and blur, losing their sharp edges, becoming soft, vague, watercolor shapes that float aimlessly through the quiet, darkening corridors of your mind, leading you gently down the path toward slumber. As the last, faint amber glow of the embers slowly fades into the deep, velvet darkness of the room, you allow yourself to completely let go. The profound, beautiful stillness of the Canadian winter has done its quiet work, clearing your mind, resting your body, and soothing your spirit with its ancient, frozen magic. You are entirely safe, you are deeply warm, and you are beautifully, perfectly at peace. Let the soft, heavy silence carry you now, let it wrap you in its vast, protective embrace, drifting deeper and deeper into a long, quiet, untroubled sleep. Good night, from the deep, beautiful, sleeping heart of the frozen north. Sleep well, and be at peace.